One of the things that happens kind of very often once patients kind of come out of that kind of hospital setting where they realise that actually they are going to live, they have survived, and that kind of euphoria occurs, is that they then get presented with a whole bunch of kind of health professionals saying, this is your problem, you've also got this as a problem, you're never going to walk again, da, da, da. So everything kind of contributes to performance pressure, levels of frustration, and the realisation that that injury that they've had is now lifelong, and what that means to them. And that's a really, really important point, in that support and from psychologists and from counselling, that needs to be there, because if you're going to discuss and start discussing goals with those individuals at that time, they need the right amount of support in order to be able to deal with that and kind of work through that. And if necessary, it means that therapeutic intervention kind of is aside for the moment while that person is getting the right amount of support that they need to deal with that, the psychological issues at that time. And like I say, that's something that we work really hard at. So if that takes 3 weeks, 6 weeks, three months, it doesn't matter. That's the kind of focus. So it needs to be client-centred but also supported. Just to mention about metacognition and executive skills. You all right? It's a bit of an OT thing in that, and just to kind of explain what they, does everybody know what metacognition and executive skills are? Or do you want me just to go through that? Executive skills are kind of what we talked about before. So it's planning, organisational, thoughts, motivation, modifying, self-regulating, all those kind of skills that you need that are affected, those skills are produced by your frontal lobe. And if you've had a head injury, the impact usually is on the frontal lobe. So those deficits are kind of usually, they usually occur. And metacognition is a term that's used that basically kind of pulls all that together, all those skills together, so it works seamlessly. So it's kind of like the conductor of an orchestra. So your metacognition, you kind of, you're using it now in that you're using your hearing, you're concentrating, you're ignoring kind of other things kind of happening around the room. Everything is working together to hopefully listen and kind of make sense of what I'm saying and kind of applying it to your kind of situation. So those are the kind of issues that will be potentially a problem with the patients that have had a brain injury. So we talked about this a little bit in the individual goal planning is essential, but how can it occur if someone can't actually set their own goals? And that's kind of where the facilitation comes in. The patient must remain the centre of the goal planning process, but it's the continual interaction between everybody involved in that person. I'm using the example here of the team that is in the unit that I'm in. But if that person is out in the community, it's absolutely everybody that they come into contact, whether that be caregivers, whether that be support workers, whether that be health professionals, doctors, medics, family, whoever. It's a combination, and they all have the right to shout and input into that kind of pathway, that goal pathway that someone is kind of embarking on. But the patient remains at the centre of that and kind of has ultimate control over what it is that they want to do. The question that we usually kind of very often get when patients first come into the unit is that they want to be the person that they were before the injury happened, and I think that's kind of just human nature. You want to be what you were before. You don't want anything, you know, you're kind of almost in denial in a way because it's such a traumatic experience, and the thought of kind of thinking this is me for the rest of my life is, you know, kind of it's a massive thing to kind of take on. So going back to kind of what I was saying about psychological support through counselling, through psychologists, through support workers, through family, and through the health professionals that are working with those people, it's really, really important to kind of offer that support and stop the treatment process at any time if that becomes more of an issue. The other thing, just kind of linking with the metacognition and the executive skills, is that levels of insight and awareness are also affected after head injury. And from our point of view, it's really important to kind of know which level of awareness the patients have, because that helps us then facilitate the right goal so that positive outcomes can still be achieved. I don't know if anybody's heard of the cross-on model, which is a model of awareness, and it's a hierarchical model. These are the three parts of that. No? Okay, so this is the bottom of the hierarchy, so it's intellectual awareness. So that basically means that somebody will understand the kind of reasons why they are as they are, because of a result of the head injury. So that's kind of education about the fact that your frontal lobe is damaged, therefore you may have behavioural problems, you may have, you know, kind of, and link it specifically to that person, so it's specific to them. The second level of awareness is having that intellectual awareness that you can then potentially move that person through into emergent awareness. So during a task, they are then able to understand that the issues that they have because of their brain injury are now occurring within this task. So the task may be going shopping around Asda, and their deficits may well be that they have poor attention, poor visual perceptual skills. So when you're walking around Asda, all the noise is going on, there's people talking, banging into you, you can't deal with it, and it's just too much of a problem. So when you're there planning for that task and that task only, you have the emergent awareness to actually realise that that might be a problem, and therefore you can implement some strategies to kind of reduce the anxieties and kind of help you out. So the next level from emergent awareness is anticipatory awareness, which kind of is self-explanatory, and that's kind of anticipating that everything that you understand and can apply to one task, you can then kind of carry that over into everything that you do, and anticipate that when I go, I know Asda, because I know kind of that I only need to go there for milk and bread, and that's in aisle 3 and 5, so that's fine, I can go in and do that, and I can screen that out, and those are my strategies for that one. But if I'm on holiday and it's not my Asda, and it's a co-op and it's Tesco's, I can anticipate that I'm going to have problems in that area. So you can kind of see by just kind of categorising the patients in these 3 different areas, it helps you kind of form a treatment plan, because there's no point expecting somebody to do something in an unfamiliar environment if they've only got intellectual awareness, because they can't possibly know in anticipation that something is going to become a problem. They only just understand that they are as they are because of the brain injury. Does that kind of make sense? Is everyone happy with that?
Sorry.
Sure.
The first one, most people will want to become a person, but we know that realistically most of them won't be able to be.
Yeah.
And that if we're offering them some activity, it's much better to give them an activity of something they never did before, rather than something they did before and we say, oh, that's well done, and really they know it's rubbish, if you like, by their previous standards.
Yeah.
So to transform rather. Yeah. So in a way that gets in the way of progress, if you allow it.
Absolutely. Did you want to come in on that?
To develop, well, going down to the pre-moment inside, strategy, I'll take a notebook, I'll take a bags, heavy bags, when I'm shopping, I know where to go,
Yep.
I know what I'm going to get, I know where,
Yeah.
and so on.
Yeah. So the strategies of kind of, presuming kind of you did that kind of quite a few times in order to kind of use those strategies, and it becomes kind of a little bit more automatic to you, so you don't have to think about it as much.
It's like short-term memory, long-term memory. My short-term memory is about 8 seconds, so shopping, no.
Yeah.
Shopping list,
Yeah.
Say black and white or blue and white, whatever.
Yeah.
It's in the bag. I can just go through and go and do it for now.
Yeah.
It's done on paper.
Yeah. So you can refer to it any time that you want, so that you don't forget.
Of course, it's probably when you go to the post office, you know how much to pay, what spell, what.
Yeah.